First of all, how did you get into this immersive experience?
I first encountered a sound bath at the end of a yoga class. At a typical sound bath, like if you've ever been to one at a yoga studio or a meditation studio, and for folks who have no idea what that is.
Yes.
So a lot of times if you go to a meditation studio or a yoga studio, you might find this thing called a sound bath where people simply go and lie down for an hour to 90 minutes and let the sounds, the vibrations, immerse them, cover them as a means to gather personal growth, restoration, maybe insights into your life. It's meant to be a restorative experience.
If you could explain, what does it feel like to go through one of those?
So a lot of times it's out of body, quite honestly. For some folks, it could be as simple as getting a nap, sleeping. But for a lot of folks, they'll have this experience of sort of going into the far reaches of their mind. There's some really interesting science around this in terms of alpha and theta brainwave states and how sound is a fast way into sort of that daydreaming state or even deep dreaming. So a lot of people have, I mean, not to sound too crazy, but transcendental experiences when they're in this sort of experience.
Is it just listening, or are there other aspects? Because I can smell your flowers right here. They smell amazing. Is this part of it? So kind of the atmosphere too?
Well, I'm really interested in touching all of the senses. So that's why I wanted to bring you a beautiful setup today, because I think the visual is really important too. I tend to create my experiences in beautiful spaces, and I want people to be able to step into the space with sort of awe and wonder and reverence and feel like it's a sacred experience.
So where do you offer this? So we mentioned Ravinia. Do you have a different location that you provide these music experiences for people who want to come and try?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of context, so I started doing this in yoga studios back in 2018.
Oh, you did the yoga studios.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And again, I was bringing my own form where I was singing and doing it differently than what most people would have experienced in that space. But then in 2023, I had the opportunity to bring this to Orchestra Hall in Chicago. And it really sort of sparked a real fire in me to bring this to other iconic venues like that. And so I've been hustling for a couple of years, and I've been traveling all over. I was able to bring this to the Kennedy Center, Schermerhorn Symphony Center in Nashville, Betcher Concert Hall in Denver, and I'm coming back to Ravinia this summer.
So it's literally you solo? You're doing this by yourself?
Yep.
No way. How did you teach yourself how to do all of this?
You know what? I literally spent hours in the studio with these electronic devices and the sound healing instruments and just practiced this improvisational singing work to create this sonic landscape for hopefully setting people up for growth and healing in their lives.
Are you going to make this available to people who aren't in Chicago? Like record it and send it to different places?
You can find me on all the streaming platforms if you look for Davin Youngs, and specifically if you look for The Reset, you'll find a version of what it is that I do where I encourage you to put on headphones or use surround sound and just set yourself up for a place of comfort to receive. Every experience I create in person is unique because they're all improvised. Everything's sort of spontaneously created, so no two experiences are identical. But that recording of The Reset, Davin Youngs, on all the streaming platforms. Also, if you're familiar with the Insight Timer app, you can find me on Insight Timer as well.
Why is it called The Reset?
Because I really wanted to sort of capture as simplistically as possible what happens. And people typically walk away from this experience and they feel changed. They feel like something happened within them that can allow them to move forward in their life with new insights, a more expansive view of who they are. It's like we often move throughout our lives with all these different programs running, and sometimes you got to reboot the computer. And when you do, you go, oh, it moves a lot faster. It's a lot more efficient. It feels really good. It's a lot more flexible. So that's what we need to do with our minds sometimes.
Okay, well, so we're lucky enough to have Anthony, our very own, experience a sound bath, and you've got a couple devices here. How are we going to provide this for Anthony?
Yeah,
so put these headphones on?
No, this is for me. So yeah, we're gonna do a little studio magic here.
Yeah.
So typically when I perform, I use both acoustic instruments like the crystal singing bowls. I'll have gongs, tuning forks, and I use those acoustically through the space so they're not amplified. But then I do something called looping. So I live record myself, and that's where the vocals come in. So primarily today what you're gonna hear is what I'm live recording. Every sound you hear on here, I've included some pre-recorded bowls, but every sound you hear, including the really low and high sounds, are my voice. And you're just gonna hear it sort of transpire over a few minutes, and we'll see where we land.
Whoa. Whoa. Anthony, I cannot wait to hear your reaction. That was beautiful.
So that was an interesting experience for me because I got cameras on me right now, so it's a little awkward to like close my eyes and get it, but I was able to do that, and I haven't heard anything ever quite like that. You know, I've done guided meditation before. I've done Headspace.
Yeah, cool.
I've done. There's a guy named Michael Seeley that I like to listen to sometimes on YouTube. He's like, he'll take you through. He just uses his words to tell a story. But that you really started getting a couple visuals there of just like. So when you said earlier people actually have like a transcendental experience, when I absolutely could see. If I had an hour lying down, eyes closed, no bright lights, no cameras, I think that is so cool.
You know, I like to think of these performance venues as sacred spaces. They're spaces that are specifically carved out for art and creativity and healing, and we don't talk about that enough. We talk about art and creativity for entertainment purposes, but the bottom line is we all know what it's like to go to a show at Ravinia and just feel like your life has changed. You know, I have like iconic moments there with like Katie Lang or Brandi Carlile or Tony Bennett, or you know, where I just walked away and it gives me goosebumps to think about it because it was so radical in my life. So this is an invitation to go into that space, name it for what it is, and participate in the beauty and the wonder of the space. You might be flat on your back, you might move. I don't really care, but I want you to think about it as sort of like a reverent experience of transformation for you, potentially.
Are you on the pavilion? Are you in the pavilion
they have
when you do it, or are you walking around the lawn?
So there's a side stage called the Carousel Stage. It's quite new, and so I'll be over there, and then I do move around the lawn sometimes.
Oh my gosh,
so
that is so cool.
You mentioned this experience that you love going and having. How does it feel to be the person who's giving that experience to everybody? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's epic, and it's, you know, Ravinia was my very first job out of college.
Yeah.
So I worked there. It was my first full-time job. So to come back as an artist feels so special and really meaningful, and I'm just so grateful for my journey.
Man. All right, we got to wrap it up. Do we have to?
Oh my gosh,
that was you are
I've never been so
incredibly
relaxed
talented.
at the end of a show, at the end of a live show. I really love what you're doing, Davin.
Thank you.
That was
Really
beautiful.
cool.
That really was
my
beautiful.
pleasure. Thank you.